Our top story: senior advisor to leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, says that Tehran will respond in kind to the violation of the 2015 nuclear deal by the remaining signatories.
So far, the US has directly violated the JCPOA, and the European signatories have indirectly violated it. We respond in kind to their violation of the JCPOA. If they reduce their commitments, we will also scale back ours. If they return and fulfill their commitments, we will do the same.
Velayati said that China and Russia have maintained friendly ties with Iran despite U.S. pressure. He noted that there is consensus among Iranian officials, lawmakers, and other politicians about the country's decision to further reduce its commitments under the nuclear accord. He said that Tehran will not withdraw from the agreement unless the other sides walk away from it. Velayati also slammed as illegal and unacceptable Western countries' call for an end to Iran's strong presence in the region. He said that Iran will never invade any countries but will not hesitate to defend itself against foreign aggression. Your thoughts on these comments?
To make anybody who's familiar with even the most basic ideas of statecraft could understand what's being said here. It's very clear that Iran has been putting through a tremendous amount of patience in dealing with the frankly dishonorable acts of the United States with regards to the nuclear deal. Iran has completely abided by them, done exactly what was required of them, did exactly what they said they were going to do, and the United States just withdrew. Now it seems that the European signatories who were also a part of this deal have decided that they're not going to live up to their end of the agreement. I think that Iran is stuck in a very difficult position. The comment certainly expressed the frustration of this situation. Essentially, Iran is doing what they're supposed to do, yet they're not receiving the compensation that they are supposed to receive from the withdrawal of the United States. That makes it very difficult for Iran to continue on in an agreement when it's seemingly Iran is the only one who's actually participating in it. And this must be very frustrating for those who are involved in foreign policy for the Iranian government. And this certainly does show that the European signatories have not been living up to what they said they were going to do. We have a very complicated situation where Iran is essentially trying to focus much of its energy into maintaining a deal that was intended to build peace, while the other members of the agreement are not living up to that. And this is frankly a wholly unacceptable way. Iran certainly has to choose at some point or another to take further actions against the U.S. withdrawal from the organization. They remained in it good faith and did what they're supposed to do. And then when someone else violates it, Iran has legal measures to combat those measures that they can take, and they have taken them thus far. It's a very strange game. I personally do think that the United States is trying to provoke an incident here. They're trying to get Iran to retaliate even more against the U.S. withdrawal and then the further sanctions, which are intended to irk Iran even more, provoke them into a kind of reaction. And then the U.S. then turns around and uses that reaction as a justification for even further sanctions. Now, we did see the situation where there was the oil tanker in the name of the area escapes me right now, Oman, the Bay of
Oman, right?
Yeah, and the accusation of Iran having attacked it with literally no evidence whatsoever other than a grainy black and white video, which it doesn't lead anyone to believe that anybody in particular was behind this attack. So we have the U.S. blaming that, and then even the Japanese, both the political and business establishment, denying the accusation, saying there was no evidence that Iran had anything to do with it. And then you have this recent seizure of the oil tanker that was allegedly on its way to Syria, and Iran has responded in kind, demanding its release. All of this seems very much to me something that's being politically calculated to provoke Iran into something that these imperialist powers, particularly the United States, UK, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, those most aligned against Iran, into giving them a kind of pretext for carrying out hostile acts. I mean, it doesn't even just stop there. We also have the incident where the Yemeni drone attack that was carried out against the Saudi oil pipeline in May. Now, the United States, according to several sources within the U.S., claimed that it was actually Iranian-backed militias inside of Iraq who carried out the attack. Now, the Iraqis have demanded evidence of this, and as of yet, nothing substantial has been forthcoming. So when we really look at the whole situation, we look at everything that's going on in relation to the U.S. and Iran, it seems very clear it's playing a very dangerous game in trying to drum up support for war against it. Because we saw there's been several polls recently that showed that a majority of Americans did not want any kind of violent conflict with Iran. They would like to avoid that completely if necessary. It seems like these things are all coming together in order to create the political will or the political capital in order to organize some kind of either military invasion or some kind of limited strike with no boots on the ground, as the Americans like to say, as a way of trying to get at Iran now that the previous sanctions and these new sanctions have not been able to carry out the kind of damage that they've been looking for.
Always a pleasure to get your perspective on the program there. Jason Unruhe joining us out of Ontario, political commentator and analyst.